Hey guys, and welcome back to Homesick, Hogs. This next episode is going to be about self-perception and identity for the college freshman. So just starting off, I'm just going to introduce myself again. I'm Abby, and I've definitely had some issues, even though I'm from Springdale, so really not that far away. I've definitely had a few issues, deciding who I am outside of my home, because now that you have all this freedom to do, whatever you want, whenever you want, essentially, you do get kind of at a crossroads in deciding, am I going to do this thing that kind of defines who I am?
I feel like in Arkansas there are so many different states, and I've seen so many people arguing like, oh, like Texas people suck, Arkansas people suck, like especially with driving. And so I'm like coming from Texas, and I'm kind of like, do I want to like brand myself as the girl from Texas? Do I want to brand myself as like, I don't know, like a local or something like that? You always have to like come up with like who you want to be, and especially during rush week, I came a week early, and I just like, I felt like I was like, I have to put on this persona of I am a sorority girl, like I'm so sweet, I'm so nice, and like I went in and I just put on this like southern drawl. And I was like, I'm southern, like I don't know, I can't even do it anymore. Like I was just so nervous that like I just like picked up this like little southern drawl because everybody kind of had one, and I picked it up a little bit, and I was like, this isn't who I am, like what am I doing? But like once you start with the southern drawl, you can't just drop it. They're gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? Like that's kind of awkward. But I don't know, I feel like it's hard to like kind of figure out who you are when it's not defined by the people you were around in high school. Because like if I was still with my high school friends, they'd be like, why are you doing that voice, but nobody knows you here pretty much unless you came with friends. Like nobody knows you can be whoever you want to be, but like at the same time it's like I can be whoever I want to be, but who am I like really?
Right. And even people that did come with friend, or as you said, friends, seeing people from around here just basically taking this opportunity as a completely like blank slate is really interesting, because there's people kind of, I don't want to say going off the rails, but basically going off the rails just because they can, you know what I mean? Like people who were amazing students in high school, just I've not seen them once in class all semester. It's really interesting to me, and I think it does go back to your family, because your family is ultimately like, well, at least for me, the deciding factor in where I was going to go, what I was going to do, how much access I had, because, when I lived at home, I also had to put, like Lauren said in the last episode, I had to put my phone away. It went in my parents' room at night. So now that I have access, it's like, well, I can be on my phone, but I can also leave my dorm at any given time, and that gives you an opportunity to do a lot of different things, whether they're good or bad. So what are some experiences you guys have had that you definitely wouldn't have had at home?
I 110% have helicopter parents. I have parents that have to know everything everywhere all the time, right? So for me, hanging out with my friends at 3 a.m, just randomly, not because I've already been there or a sleepover, but just being out and about on the town, walking around, doing something or the other, that is so unique to me in my college experience.
Well, I went to a club.
Oh,
It was legal, don't worry. I was,
wow.
an 18 plus club. It was C4.
Okay.
And I had fun. I did karaoke for the first time. But yeah, it's not something I would have been able to do at home, first of all, because my parents usually wanted me home at a certain time, and we were out pretty late. And also just the fact that it was a club, and that there are like older people there, and alcohol is served there, even though I wasn't getting any. It was just, my parents would not have allowed that to happen. They did find out about it, but they weren't mad about it. But, under their roof, I wouldn't be able to do that. And also just like hanging out with people at like all hours, and not having to like ask if I can do this at this time, or like check in so often. Because like at home I would update my parents, like if I went somewhere, if I was doing something with someone, I would just have to check in with them, being like, hey, like we're going here now, or like I'll be home at this time or whatever. And it kind of got annoying, and I don't have to do that anymore, which is really nice. I can kind of I guess fend for myself and look out for myself, which is something I've come to appreciate.
also being alone and, you know, not with my family at college has drawn me to different hobbies that I never had in high school. Music has become an extreme refuge for me because, I mean, I knew I had to walk to classes, but, like everywhere is uphill at Arkansas. Like, literally, like, I'm sweating everywhere I go, and it's, like, basically a hike. So, I don't know, having music and, like, having that thing every day has definitely helped me find myself, and I don't want to necessarily, like, plant my identity in, you know, an artist or a song, but to an extent, I think that's fantastic. You know what I mean? To be able to find an art and decide, like, I really affiliate with this, and to be able to find something that you can relate to so well, as you know, like, because a lot of times I think people, especially freshmen, feel like, well, my experience is so unique, like no one could feel the way I'm feeling, and it's definitely an isolating feeling, but to listen to music and like hear the lyrics and be like, this is exactly how I'm feeling is so fantastic, and I feel like that's something that a lot of people can relate to, actually, and I think that's, I don't know, it's been really amazing for me to talk about that with other people and kind of build my group of friends off of something that I didn't even know I really enjoyed until I came to college.
Sorry guys, Cooper blanked a little bit, and he did sit there in silence holding the mic and looking at us. So we had a little bit of a hiccup there, but as he was saying, 110% agree with you, Abby. I think that was actually a really good point. Do you want to say what you wanted to say, Cooper?
Sure. Yeah. I've enjoyed keeping my friends at a surface level. I know I mentioned this in the last episode, but keeping things at just such a not a ingenuine relationship, but more of a just, we're just friends and that's it, not really having to get not deep. Obligatory. Yeah, I don't feel like I have to tell people everything. I don't feel like I have to share parts of my life. I'm able to expand and just keep having large amounts of friends rather than just two friends that I tell everything to, which some people would prefer that. I don't see it as quality over quantity or vice versa. Right. I see it as just having a larger positive social circle of people I can enjoy being around.
Right, and I think there's a time and a place for that. And, you know, since we are here for an education, I think it's beneficial to some extent to just be able to have friends that are just friends. Like, it's not like your lifeline, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, when you're going through stuff, not be like, well, if I didn't have her, like, I don't know what, like, sometimes you need to learn how to go through stuff by yourself. And I that's important, especially your first semester, because it is difficult, especially when it starts getting cold, because, I mean, like, I stayed in and did work all day yesterday, and then when I opened my door, it was dark outside at, like, 5 o'clock, and that was really depressing, because, like, I was productive that day, but it kind of feels like that entire day was gone, you know? So just balancing time and figuring out who you are is different and strange.
Yeah, like me, I have, like, an issue with, like, knowing who I am around different people, because in high school, like, when I was with certain friends, I was the same person, but, like, I slightly changed. Like, I was more loud with some people and I was quieter with some. And here, I just, like, keep, like, comparing myself to who I was back home. But I'm not around, like, the same people. And then I get not, like, stuck, but, like, going through past memories of, like, getting, like, Snapchat memories, or, like, going through, like, my spam account, like, seeing, like, things I was doing with, like, a lot of people, and, like, things I was doing, like, every day. And, like, it's just hard to think that, like, I probably won't have that experience anymore, not because, like, I'm not able to, but just because, like, it's hard to, like, have, like, in college, like, everyone's schedules are different, like, and it's hard to have, like, that many people be able to do, like, something at once. And, like, it's just, it really does, like, make you think about, like, who you actually are, like, when you're not with people that you have been since you were, like, a little kid.
Yeah, I've also seen Snapchat memories and been like, okay, I'm a little bit different than I was, but that's also something we've talked about in class, and we've, you know, discussed in our group as well. Is how social media can change your outlook on basically your entire lifetime. and it goes back to our last episode as well. It's just like seeing people's Snapchat stories and seeing like, well, these people are doing this and I'm not. You know, becomes a comparative thing. Like, well, I'm not doing this right or something's wrong. You know, so it's beneficial in a way to be like, oh, it's a measuring tool. Be like, this is how far I've gone, and like I can be okay with being by myself, and I've set boundaries and limits on who I am. But also, it can be really, really dangerous in comparing yourself to other people, and setting this standard for this is who I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, like a friend of mine recently was talking about Be Real, and how half the time it'll go off when she's studying, and you know, she won't do it at that given time because she doesn't want to be perceived as, oh, all I do is study, like I'm always at the library, I'm always doing homework. So I mean, I personally don't feel that pressure because I'm not on social media like that, but I see it in my friends, and I see it in my other best friend who does post on Instagram pretty often, and she's very particular and meticulous about what she posts, and she thinks a lot about how are people gonna like view this, and like what kind of person are they gonna think I am because of, you know, this tiny little detail or like this or that. So that is a very common experience as well.
I think kind of circling back to like social media and like how it like alters your self-perception. A lot of people like I feel like social media kind of has this like herd mindset effect of like, what are people saying that's cool now, like what are people wearing that's cool now. I think that TikTok has a lot to do with that, because like what was it, like 2 years ago everybody was saying sisters. Everybody was saying like sisters, and like now people are saying like slay, and like everybody's kind of like diction changes. I don't know if that's the right word, diction changes, but like with like what's cool on social media, and all it really takes is like one post and everyone's like, that's kind of funny. Like a few years ago everybody was sending like the laughing emoji as chairs, or not like this year everyone was like chairs, like the cool new laughing emoji, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense, but like okay. And like people are doing like, oh, anyways, maybe I was on like a different side of like TikTok then. Yeah, I saw it like a couple times. I was like, that's like kind of like weird, like that's like.
And I feel like that's the thing in like a bunch of different environments. It's like if you don't know about this one thing, then you're just completely left out. And so everywhere in college, it's like if you're not familiar with like any frat parties, or it's like, oh, I'm going to Fiji, and I'm like, what, you're going across the world? Like, hello? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't know this stuff, then it's definitely going to be like almost culture shock for you, and it makes you feel left out. It really does. It sucks, and especially when you're a freshman, it's like, well, I don't have a place here, you know, like I don't belong here. And so you definitely have to remind yourself that like that's not necessarily true. So even if it's as small as, you know, having a chair as a laughing emoji, it's also in every single environment.
Yeah, and I think that's like part of the reason I joined a sorority, was like to feel like included in something, because like I know like the hand signal, the song, whatever, I'm going to like the pep rallies with my like Greek group, everybody wants to be included. And I think that's like a big thing, is like you don't want to feel like you're in the out group, like and especially like being an underclassman, like being brand new to this, it's like nobody wants to be in the out group, and like it's hard like trying to like find an in group to like be in. Like you have to create kind of your own like friend group, your own like inside jokes. Like you're not coming with like your best friend from like a little while ago where you could say like one word and then like you guys are on the floor laughing, like it's an inside joke sort of thing. It's like you have to create all these new memories, and I think that's really hard, like while you're also trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to figure out like who your friends are too.
110%. Ah!
Not know that
Because it's such a force of habit.
No.
When I really agree with something.
You did that in the
I digress.
interview.
I did do that.
Oh God.
It was a great interview. Anyways, I agree with what Lauren said entirely when it comes to the fact that we were. Are we good? Okay. I agree with what Lauren said on the fact that it is new when you're having to start all over socially. Not necessarily in who you are, but in the persona you've created. Using the looking glass self theory, for those who don't know, it's how the way that you are perceived by the way other people may see you, i.e. how your older brother may see you versus how your best friend from back home might see you. You don't have that necessarily around you anymore. Those people, of course, still see you the way they do, but it changes with time from you being away from them. But also, you're meeting people who have never, ever, ever met you before. So it allows you, in a way, to start over for better and for worse reasons. Of course, yes, there are people that we wish we wouldn't have been around in high school that we wish maybe it's just me that you just wish you wouldn't have known at all ever. But right, but there are a lot of people, who are naturally we're gonna miss and we're gonna wish we had around more often, and we're great for company in that. Oh, I wish they were still up here. But it allows you to go out and find new people that in a few years you'll say the same thing about them. And especially at college, I think my favorite part about college, I've said this to my mom for a while, if there's someone I don't like, I straight up just don't have to see them. If they live on the other side of campus near Hots and the quads and all that, I may never run into them ever again in my life.
That's so crazy because it's like 5 yards. You know what I mean? But it feels like a long way to us. It's not even a mile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to us, the distance is so great because of how many people are here.
Right.
I can imagine going to a campus like Texas A&M even that's just even bigger than this. Just the fact that we're not required to see these people anymore has actually been really, really great for me, not feeling like I have to not necessarily fake kindness around them. Of course, I'll always be friendly towards these people regardless of how they act, but I don't have to fake anything around them ever. I just don't have to see them anymore. If I don't like them, there's no drama. I can just not see them.
I mean, we're not going to throw any names around, but we were actually just having this conversation a while ago, and something we talked about in class was, your one sentence identity. And so it's like, the gross uncle, or something specific for college is, me and Lauren are in the same biology lecture, and there's probably 200 people, 300 people. I don't know. It's big. And there's a handful of people that love to ask questions or make comments. And it's like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm glad that you value your education, but there's also 200 other people here, and in classes that aren't necessarily, science or math or something like that, and we're having more in-depth and, philosophical conversations, I feel like there's some people who make comments that they don't even believe. You know what I mean? And it's forcing them into a box to say things that they aren't necessarily, like, isn't characteristic of them. And, there could be different catalysts for that, and social media is one of them, but also just this environment here of it's like, I need to say something, I need to be a part of this conversation, I need to have a one sentence identity is just insane. And I think the other end of the looking glass self is really interesting because we have these negative opinions about these people and they don't even know, you know what I mean? And they have their own opinion of like, oh, I'm a scholar, I'm an academic weapon, so like they have no issues thinking this. But Lauren, were you gonna say something?
Yes. I think that, like, it's crazy how even in a lecture, like, you can find someone, like, that just makes, like, a couple comments and then suddenly, like, oh, that's the girl that's gonna make, like, this political again or, like, something like that. Especially in biology when he, like, talks about, like, certain things, like, she just turns it into, like, this, like, whole political, like, I don't know her name. I just know her as, like, the girl who's, like, gonna make this political again. Like, it's, like, the creepy uncle and then the political student in my bio class. Like, that's her one sentence. But it's also weird when you're thinking about it, like, what's my one sentence to other people? You know, have you guys ever thought about that?
Forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, that's okay.
What do you think about your one sentence self?
Oh, yeah. So my sister had told me back in high school, because I have this pair of headphones. I guess they're unique looking. And my sister, I wore them all the time in high school, and my sister told me that her friend didn't know my name, but before she knew me as my sister's sister, would call me like, oh, that girl with the headphones. And like, I don't know, it messed with my head because I was like, oh, am I just only like my appearance, or like, and to certain people you are only your appearance because they don't know you.
Right.
So
I have the silver headphones. Yeah.
So like it made me, I don't know, I've thought hard about like how I would start to like present myself every day and like what my outfits would be like, because sometimes that's all people are gonna see, and sometimes that does say a lot about your character, which can be good, can be bad, but like I was talking about that with my roommate and how like you can look at a person and like you can kind of tell like what they're like.
Right. And I mean, sorry not to interrupt, but we talked about this in class once again. and it's self-description versus self-disclosure, and it's like, what are you actually telling people versus what are they just seeing, and that's extremely prevalent at college because, like we said, there's just thousands of people you see every single day, and you know nothing about them besides what you're seeing. And that can go both ways because a lot of people have, pretty strong ideas about people in fraternities. And I won't lie, when I definitely affiliate them. They're all a little bit the same in my mind because they all, like, I'll be like, oh my God, this is my friend Jackson, and it's just any other white man ever. So it's like, but appearance is a really big thing, and so you have to be mindful of what you think about people, and being open-minded is definitely a big thing here.
I think that there's like a thin line between fitting in and blending in, where everybody's like, oh, I want to fit in, like, I want to wear all the same stuff, but then it's like, next thing you know, you're the same, like, you're wearing the same Lululemon as your sorority sister, and you both look like the same person. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I think that, like what other people think of you definitely, like, alters your self-perception, like, a lot. Like, I know some people think of me as, like, funny, some people think of me as, like, mean, and, like, when I'm with those people, I think that I, like, definitely, like, whatever they think of me, I kind of, like, play into that a little bit more. If someone's like, oh, you're so funny, then I feel, like, the pressure to, like, crack a million more jokes than I would with, like, these people that are like, you're kind of mean, and be, like, a little snippier with them, I think that what other people say you are, like, think about you, kind of just, like, alters the way you act around them, and that also can, like, make you a little more confused on, like, who am I really, like, how do I perceive myself if all these people are saying different things about me and, like, who I am.
Yeah, I think it also, what was I gonna say? Like, what other people say about other groups or other cultures, I feel like can affect how you perceive yourself and how you judge yourself. Like, a lot of people will make comments about, the type of clothes that sorority girls will wear, or, like, the kind of leggings that they wear. And one of my friends, she dresses that way, she's not in a sorority, and she'll sometimes avoid dressing that way because she doesn't want to associate with negative stereotypes necessarily. So yeah, I mean, like, the way people talk about other communities can affect your image and how you, identify with yourself or, like, your clothes. And I'm not throwing shade at you, Lauren. I'm just saying.
I'm not having my leggings.
No, it's the flare ones specifically.
Oh, those are my Christmas leggings.
I personally have nothing against them.
No.
She has just heard people, like, say that I don't think they're ugly. She has heard people say that they're ugly, and she doesn't, like, she has a pair, and she just avoids wearing them because she doesn't want to be, like, she doesn't want people to, like, assume something about her or, like, have a negative thought about her because.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience. I feel like when I tell people I'm in band, there's an automatic thought about me. And so I'm always like, yeah, like, I'm just in it for the money. They really don't give me that much money. Like, if I were in it for the money, I would have quit by now because they are not giving me enough. But it's honestly a really great experience. And, like, to go back to homesickness and being involved, that has been my saving grace because a lot of things I never thought I would have enjoyed and people I never thought I would have hung out with, which, albeit there are some very strange characters in the band, but there's some amazing things that I've done. Like, I've traveled to Dallas, Memphis, like, I've done so much already, and it's, it's for free. And that's, I don't know, that's been really defining for me because to be able to interact with people who are, 22 and they're about to graduate and just to talk to them and see where they're at in their lifetime is really amazing. And I don't think I would have been able to do that had I not been in band because, it's not like you're networking with seniors when you're a freshman. Like, that's not typical, I feel like. So even though sometimes I feel like I try and, like, squelch what I actually enjoy, I feel like it is really critical to my experience as a freshman here.
Agreed. I think the idea of a guilty pleasure is so long outdated. I didn't say under 10%, y'all. That's my guilty pleasure. But in college, it's really about finding your own interests, whether it be niche or something general. There is no shame in enjoying the things that other people like. I say enjoy the song that's #1 on TikTok and Spotify right now. Enjoy the video game that every single person is talking about and can't get enough of. It is totally all right and normal to enjoy popular things. They are popular for a reason most of the time. There are some songs like that Happy song by Pharrell Williams. I could never get behind it. But I love Pharrell, but that song specifically. I digress, but the point is that there's no shame in liking these things, and being in college has allowed me to really find that it's okay to just like popular things and not feel like you have to be super duper unique and niche. And my taste in music is way more superior than yours because I listen to musicians no one knows. That's cool. It is a great taste to enjoy things that other people may not, but it's also okay to just enjoy the things that are that can be disliked for some reason. It really allows you to feel comfortable in yourself and your self-worth when you feel comfortable in the things that you enjoy. If you enjoy the media that you take in and you choose to take in, then I mean, of course, like logically speaking, you can't put in hours and hours and hours a day and prohibit yourself from doing your other day-to-day activities.
That's dangerous.
That's true,
Yeah.
but it's okay to just enjoy things that other people might dislike. Of course.
110%, Cooper. I really agree with that. I feel like college is all about cultivating who you are as a person and like coming up with like new things that you enjoy. You're adding to your personality constantly and like you're adding new experiences. And I think that can honestly help with like this whole long distance being away from home, kind of finding out who you are, you know, circling back to that. I mean, you're away from all these old things that you used to be able to do. Like you could, if you're from Texas, drive right down to Galveston, go to the beach. Maybe that was like a big thing for you. Now you can't do that. You're finding something new that you might enjoy, like hiking. Like you're just so far away from all your family and your friends. It's like you're long distance with them now that you're trying to like find out who you are. But I think that like cultivating new things and like starting new hobbies and like enjoying the things that you want to enjoy is definitely going to help you find yourself faster than pretending like you enjoy like Kanye West just because everyone else enjoys Kanye West.
Okay. Well, I do enjoy Kanye West, so no hate there. No, because I genuinely do, and I wouldn't tell anyone that now because, you know, he is under some flame for being an anti-Semite and whatnot. But yeah, true. I actually don't have Twitter, guys. It's a false account. But
Twitter sucks.
But you don't like Twitter?
No, it's so toxic.
It is toxic, I will agree. Well, okay, yes. Did we already talk about this? I don't remember. But a lot of people, yes, we did.
No, not really.
We didn't hit it the way we were. Okay, so we had previously discussed this, but a lot of people will say things just because they see it on social media. And Twitter specifically, like I feel like we talked about, you know, white saviors and social justice warriors. You know what I mean? It's like people that see something on social media and they like take that as a part of their identity.
Like gaslighting. I feel like gaslighting wasn't a word like 2 years ago. I didn't hear it that much. Now everyone's like, why are you gaslighting me? I'm like, bro, what? We're having an argument. Like, I'm making
Yeah.
a point.
Yeah, and I feel like some people who don't have much going on in their lives want to find something wrong with another individual.
Yeah. They want to victimize themselves, I think.
Right,
That's
and
like become very prevalent.
She has victim complex.
100%. And we live in a very I don't know if this is a word or not, diagnostic society where people love to throw labels onto things just because a lot of our generation specifically we're still young. So they don't necessarily have it all figured out and pictured out. However, they look so desperately to throw in a label because it allows for them to feel like they've solved their confusion or feeling of whatever it may be. When it is totally normal to just not have a label and just do what you are. And that applies to a lot of things, but I think especially in the terms of mental illness, people are very quick to diagnose themselves. But ultimately, the diagnostic the diagnosing of yourself isn't necessarily always going to help. For some people, it might help. And if it does help you, then absolutely do it. But reaching out, getting help, finding resources, having friends, talking about it, things like that don't have anything to do with the label. You don't necessarily have to give yourself the label of depressed or anxious. You can be prone to having depressive seasons and depressive attacks because of family mental illness you may or may not know about. You can just be the first in your generation to have it. Yeah. You may not even have it, and you may just be going through a rough season, and that is totally valid and okay to seek ample help for that, just as anybody else who would have this label have. In a weird way, because of the fact we're so quick to diagnose, it mitigates the validity of other people's, in my opinion. Yes. Because if it's such a broad thing that anyone and everyone can claim to, it doesn't take away from the sincerity or seriousness of the other people's, but it does create a lessened public image of it. For a lot of people who don't really understand how mental illness works, if they see it as such a broad thing, they'll be quick to think that, it's a hoax, it's a trend and whatnot, when that's not the case at all. It's just that we're way more recognizable of it nowadays. Yeah. But again, we live in a world that's so quick to diagnose people. I think it's important that people can diagnose themselves, absolutely, and get help to get diagnosed, but also find the resources before all else. Whatever it may be, find help, find resources, find friends, find community, find people who are going through the same thing, people who have gone through the same thing. Find help before you find a label.
Don't shut yourself off. And I think that's an American thing, not to, get political, I guess. But I feel like since we live in such a capitalistic world, or capitalism is so important in America that, normal and I feel like common feelings sometimes become symptoms for a bigger issue. And I don't want to invalidate anyone's experiences, but if we're so quick, like Cooper said, to be like, oh, well, you have an anxiety disorder, someone who has extreme anxiety and may actually have an anxiety disorder is like, wow, there's something really wrong with me. And then they become even more ostracized. And so I feel like it can make some issues a lot more bold, a lot worser than they should be.
Yeah, just to kind of touch back on the mental illness, I think is definitely an issue, but also sexuality and gender orientation, I feel is also a really big thing. I think it's literally everyone, I'm assuming almost everyone is questioning and confused and doesn't know, there's always some kind of maybe I like girls, whatever. And I feel like people you do one thing that might be a little I don't know, you might kiss your friend on the cheek and then they're like, you're gay. Yes, they're like, what the fuck? Ooh.
Don't say the fuck word, girl.
Anyways, back to what I was saying. And yeah, so I just think putting a label on things especially
don't do it too
soon. Don't do it too
yeah.
soon, because you just need time to think about it.
You're also 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we talk about the mental illness aspect of it, I don't think it's necessarily a problem putting a label on it. In fact, it, again, like I said, for some people it can help. Yeah. I think it's dangerous to make that the first step, rather than, if you are struggling with something or the other, then getting help. Getting help should always be the first step. Calling someone, going to a licensed therapist or psychiatrist or something or the other that will help you. That, and if it is labeling, then of course, by all means, make that your help. Yeah. But rushing to label yourself if that doesn't help you, and I know that sounds so, well, logically, duh, you shouldn't. But I know people firsthand who have rushed to that, and it's hurt them long term, because then the focus becomes, okay, what's the label I throw with this, rather than how can I get myself through this, not necessarily over, but get myself through this, and how do I live and cope in this way.
Yeah, and I think that's especially important to identity, because individuals with autism or Down syndrome, a lot of people have voice that they prefer to say yeah, I'm Abby with autism, I'm not autistic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And same with Jewish, don't call someone a Jew. It's only one more syllable to just say Jewish. I feel like there's a lot of ways to be much more open-minded and accepting of other individuals. So especially when, you're our age and you're a freshman, don't be so quick to define who you are by, something that may just be a temporary struggle, especially since we're not in the same environment that we were before. So it's so hard to be able to be like, well, I'm depressed. And it's like, well, really? Because you just moved away from your home like 3 weeks ago. So I think that goes back to, building your own community, building your own home. And so essentially you can make the person that you want to be, but, be wary in what you do, because choosing too soon can really put you on the wrong path.
And you don't want to create a person that you don't end up liking, you know.
That will conclude this episode of Homesick Hogs. Appreciate y'all listening. I hope you feel a little more at home after our discussions.